All right, let's talk Los Angeles Chargers coming into a big, I want to call it a must-win game. I know it's a little early for that kind of language, but it's a massive matchup this weekend. And with that in mind, the Chargers have made a change to their starting lineup. They got a new starter that I think is the right move to make at a critical position. We'll get into the details there, plus some extra data as always. But first, I am Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Los Angeles Chargers, of course, this is a team, it's a playoff team. I think we all believe it, but injuries on the offensive line have put them in a perilous situation. They're trying to shuffle and just keep their head above water at this point to make sure their star quarterback and their rushing attack can still get things done on the offensive side of the football. And they've got a game this weekend against the Raiders, which they should win. The Raiders are a struggling team, but again, Raiders changing offensive coordinators. This team, the Las Vegas Raiders, does have some talent, so they got to be ready to handle, especially, defensive end Max Crosby in this Raiders pass rush. Clearly the best part of that Las Vegas squad. And to that end, the Chargers have made a change. Let's pull up this report courtesy of Bolt Beat. Jim Harbaugh announced on Friday that Jamari Salyer will get the start at left tackle this Sunday when the Bolts take on the Las Vegas Raiders, a move that should have happened long before now. A sixth-round pick of the Bolts back in 2022, Salyer was thrust into the starting lineup early in his rookie campaign when Slater tore a bicep tendon in Week 3, thus ending his season. Salyers ultimately made 14 starts that season and played quite well, earning a respectable 69.8 overall PFF grade and a strong 76.4 pass blocking grade. Yeah, so the issue was like, okay, they traded for Trevor Penning from the New Orleans Saints to add more depth and potentially add more talent at the tackle position with the injuries to Slater and Alt. Penning, question marks of how well he played last week. Not very well, of course. Could he be the guy going forward? And the Chargers said, listen, he may be a backup. He may have a role for us as a depth piece, but he's got experience. He's played some football. But we got to protect Herbert. We got to protect his blind side. Salyer will be our starter at that position going forward. And like the report mentioned, Salyer is no stranger to playing at the offensive tackle position and doing good things. Let's pull up our first graphic here, Mize, if you don't mind. So they mentioned in the report the PFF grades and the performance as a pass protector going back a number of years now. And I just pulled up the numbers for that season from Salyer. You can see the first column on the left is his overall grade, the pass blocking in the middle, and the run blocking there on the right. But the thing that really jumps out to me is how about 3 penalties total over the course of basically a full season starting at tackle. Love to see that because penalties, of course, when you're trying to run the football like the Chargers will do, penalties will kill a drive. Big difference between 1st and 15 and 1st and 20 than 1st and 10, obviously. So staying ahead of the change, big part there. But how about pass protection? Look at those numbers. A few duds, that'll happen at tackle. It's like playing corner, right? You're going to have a bad game or two. But overall, if you go down the grades, 90, 79, 72, 74, 81, 72, 73, 76, 72, with the exceptional dud here or there, a lot of consistency. One of the things for those of you who aren't familiar with PFF, how it generally works is anything about 60, 65 is considered average replacement level. Anything in the high 60s, low 70s is considered a decent, capable starter. When you get into the high 70s, low 80s, that's a good, solid player. Mid to high 80s is like Pro Bowl, and 90s is like All-Pro, Hall of Fame kind of stuff. So Salyer, again, as a pass protector, well above average when he stepped up a number of years ago. He's got experience. He's versatile. He's a team guy. Great addition in terms of making him the starter going forward for the Chargers, especially when you consider Trevor Penning, who, of course, was the guy they added from the New Orleans Saints. And let's pull up his graphic, looking at last season for Penning, 2024, what he did at the right tackle position for the New Orleans Saints. And you can see, looking at his numbers, not so good, right? You can see a couple games there where it was halfway decent in the 70s, but overall, as a pass protector, that middle column, the duds are really bad, and it's basically all over the map. 76, 26, 46, 62, 44, 69, 42. You can see the numbers there, right? He has one really good game there in the middle, but other than that, it's a lot of yikes. Now, he is a better run blocker. I think that's a fair statement when it comes to Penning. He's got a lot of nastiness to him. He can be a mauler, and don't discount that. But when it comes to the quarterback and winning games after Thanksgiving, when rubber meets the road, it comes down to passing the football, those big third downs. Herbert can get it done. We know that. The question is going to be, can he have any time? Does he have protection necessary to make those kind of throws and make those kind of plays for this Chargers team to overcome the challenges they have due to injuries on the offensive line? And I think Salyer far and away is the right move to make, especially when you consider the upcoming challenges that this Chargers team is going to face, right? They have a really good defensive end, defensive line. The Raiders aren't a good football team, but their defensive line is A+ for sure, led by Max Crosby, an absolute superstar. And on the other side of it, things get interesting. The Chargers still have to play the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, two teams with good defensive lines. They need a stable front to keep this team and momentum going as they try and work their way back to the playoffs. I think they're a playoff team. I think they got the talent, the coaching core, quarterback play to do it. They just need some level of offensive line stability, and Salyer, in my mind, is the guy to deliver it. Great job by Harbaugh. Great move here, naming him the starter for what I think will be the stretch run. All right, Miles, I'm really curious what you have to say when it comes to the Chargers. But first, Bolt fans, in the comment section below, obviously matchup against the Raiders this weekend. You should feel okay about it, right? Give us your prediction. Final score, Chargers, Raiders, in the comment section below. How do you think this game is going to go? Could go a bunch of different directions. I think it has a chance to be a little bit more points than people think. I think the Raiders changing their OCs could open it up a little bit. I also like Herbert and Harbaugh and Roman and all these guys to really do some good things with Salyer at left tackle offensively. But give us your prediction. Final score, Chargers, Raiders. Put it in the comment section below. But Miles, over to you now. What are your thoughts on all things Chargers?
Yeah, Nick, I think like the article said, kind of something that is long overdue as far as this is a much needed move. I think it's the right decision because if you bring up Salyer's numbers, he's had some great seasons, and especially that first year where he played tackle the whole season, by far his best grades, by far his strongest season with this team. So I think that this is the right decision here, and I think long term, this is where we're going to see Salyer was meant to be a tackle type of player, especially because we've seen some of his best grades. He played tackle this year already, and that's where his best grades are. He played tackle week 9 versus Tennessee, 82.4 pass blocking grade, as you said in the breakdown of the PFF grades. That's pretty dang good. That's high-level starter, Pro Bowler type of stuff there for Salyer, and this is a guy who, when he's playing tackle, I think we've seen some of his best football. Been up and down at the guard position. I think you kick him back out. This is going to be, I don't think this is just a replacement type of thing as far as getting someone in for injury. I think this is when we see Salyer put play on the field this year, I think he's going to be an option for the starting tackle going forward for this season and more seasons as well. And I think hopefully for the Chargers, that spells a much better team because this is a team, they've got talent across the board on the offensive line. You just haven't seen it all come together, and it hasn't been too great this year. I think they have some solid players, but they need someone to tie it all together. I know injuries have been a big factor. Obviously, Joe Alt being injured is a big-time key here, but I think that this could be the start of the turnaround for the offensive line. This team has a ton of great playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. Herbert just needs the time, the ability for the offensive line to really carry them forward. We've seen injuries come up this year that have unleashed new great players, especially looking at running back Kamani Vidal, who I think is a really fantastic player. He's showed that he has some, merit to be one of the featured backs on this team going forward. Obviously, we've had tight end Oronde Gadsden do really great things as well, but I think the next one up, Jamari Salyer, going to show that he can be a top-tier tackle in the NFL with this decision. I'm really excited to see how he plays. I think this is one to look at going forward.
Yeah, and especially when you consider this Chargers offensive line, and if you look at any metric, PFF, any analytics platform, they've had a rough season. You can just turn on the film, you can watch the games, as you Chargers fans, of course, obviously are, and they've not done well protecting Herbert. I think they've done okay running the football at times, but protection has been a problem, and the Chargers are going to have to figure out a solution. And I agree, Salyer's a guy who played his best football at tackle that season. I think sliding him out is the right move to make, and I give credit to the Chargers coaching staff for doing it. There is always the temptation when you acquire a player, certainly the trade deadline, that you got to throw him in because, listen, you gave up capital to get a player. He's got to be your starter. He's got to be your key contributor. The front office is definitely going to put that pressure on you. Harbaugh, Ortiz have that good relationship. Say, listen, Penning, we wanted to bring in another tackle. We brought him in. Maybe not the guy we need right now. Let's go Salyer. Keep Penning as a depth piece, as a rotational piece potentially for the stretch run here. So, again, credit to the Chargers for being a good organization, not falling into the trap of just, hey, listen, we paid for a player. We acquired a player at the trade deadline. We got to play him. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So credit to Los Angeles for avoiding that fallacy. But when we talk about the matchup this weekend, let's pull up the specifics here, Mice, if you don't mind, courtesy of ESPN. And we got our matchup predictor first up on the screen from ESPN Analytics. The Chargers with a 73% chance to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders with a 26.8% chance to win. So basically 75-25 there between the two teams. There is a slight chance of a tie. Yes, that's right, folks. Ties are still mathematically possible in the NFL. Thank you to Green Bay and Dallas for showing us that is still the case earlier this season. But again, 3-1 right there. Chargers are the favorite per ESPN Analytics. When you look at the sports book, something interesting is happening, though, courtesy of ESPN Bet Sportsbook. The Chargers opened up as a 10-point favorite. The over-under was 42.5, but money has moved away from the Chargers. The spread has narrowed to 8.5, and the over-under has dropped a little bit. I think people look at the volatility of this offensive line and they say, I don't trust the Chargers right now. And when you consider the fact that the Raiders changed their OC, there's going to be some volatility there. So anytime there's volatility, new players, new starters, changing positions in one team, new coaching staff, a lot of money moves away and spreads narrow because people are like, we don't know. The worst thing you want to do if you're a big gambler, if you're a Vegas guy, a sportsbook guy, is throw a lot of money on one side of a bet when you don't know what's going to happen. And I think Salyer, when you actually dig into the numbers and the research, he's got the past performance. I don't think the Chargers should be worried. I don't think people around the game should be worried. But if you're going to bet a lot of money on it, like some of these sportsbooks are, that is a reason for pause, especially the fact that the Raiders have changed their offensive coordinator. They could be a completely different team. You just don't know. And when you don't know, spreads narrow, right? That's just the way it works in gambling. That's the way it works in business, investing across the board. So I'm not too worried from a Chargers perspective of the spread narrowing as we get ready for this matchup. But I do think the Chargers, they're going to have to step up. It's a tough matchup for them. The Raiders are really good at rushing the passer. Max Crosby, of course, is a superstar. If they can handle Crosby, I think they win easily. I think the Raiders' offense is going to look a little bit better just because they're changing up the play caller. Harbaugh mentioned it this week that they're going to have to take a react approach. They're going to go out with base, basically, defensively, react to how the Raiders play. He says it's sort of like an opening week mindset. So, again, I think it's going to give the Raiders a chance to come out with a decent start. But I think if the Chargers handle the pass rush, they should win this one easily. It's a big game for LA. I like them to handle the Raiders here. But again, they're going to have to execute, and a big part of that is going to be Jamari Salyer stepping up at tackle.